Hey guys, Stephen here. Hope you guys are doing well. So we're currently at TimpCon, and basically we're just going to do some practice games ready for the SoCal tournament that's coming up. So I've got my Ultramarines here today, and I'm going to be playing against the Drukhari shortly. So basically we've set the table up. We are doing mission number 5. So this is the one where there's 4 objectives, and one of them is precious cargo. I think the mission's called. One of them is like your home objective that you can move 6 inches. And we're basically playing in search and destroy deployment. I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Jonah and Brian, who are going to be commentating over the video. So hopefully the audio is okay. There might be a little bit of background noise, and basically what's going to happen is, because we are at this con, the audio quality might be a little bit disrupted, so please bear with us with the audio. So anyway, without further ado, I won the roll-off to basically the table set up evenly, so we've obviously got our sides ready. I won the roll-off to drop first. What we'll do as well is we'll start deploying, and then we'll go over secondaries and all that kind of good stuff. So we haven't decided on our secondaries yet. They will be coming up shortly. So I just thought I'd get this live going. We'll probably be starting the game in a couple of minutes. So in my list, I'll run you through that, and then I'll get my opponent over, and he can run you through the Drukhari list. So basically, I've got Calgar, I've got a lieutenant with a jump pack and a relic, seal of oath. I've also got 2 units of 3 aggressors, a unit of 5 aggressors. I've also then got 2 repulsor executioners, a regular repulsor, and then I've got 3 units of 3 suppressors. Now, if you see that there's intercessors, I'm going to be proxying them while they're being built, because this is a slight change I'm making to the list as a playtest. So I have 3 units of suppressors being built currently and glued, ready to hit the tabletop. So I've got a week to paint them ready for SoCal. But basically, if you see any inceptors on the table, then they are counted as suppressors, just so you know. All right, so that's my list. I've got no troops. I've basically got a fast attack, an outrider detachment, and I've got a heavy support detachment, because I've also got the Thunderfire as well, I forgot to mention. So that I'm starting the game as Calgar as my warlord, so that gives me 7 CPs at the beginning of the game. And that's about it. I may spend 1 CP on warlord trait for the lieutenant. It means that I can put 1 unit with to have the tactical doctor in. I'm yet to decide. But I'm playing to get a pretty mixed Drukhari list. He's got some Venoms, some big unit of Talos, 3 Ravagers, a couple of planes, so probably Big Game Hunter's going to be in there. He's got some Grotesques, so I'm probably going to take Gangbusters as well. So I'll probably go Big Game Hunter, Gangbusters, and then my 4th one, or the 3rd, not 4th, the 3rd secondary I'll go for will probably be either old school, or it will be can't really go engineers, because I don't really have anything I want to waste set on objectives, so I'm probably going to go for Butcher's Bill. So that I'll probably stick with those 3 secondaries, and I'll get my opponent over, and we can have a chat about what he's bringing, and then his secondary picks. I'll be back in about 30 seconds. Alright. Hey, chat about your list for the guys, okay? They can't see you, so it's just audio. Alright? Okay. I'm here. So try and talk directly into the microphone. Right.
Hello there. This is Charles at the Wondrous Timpingo Convention. Going to be playing Steve today with a little bit of that Drukhari sweet webway love. The simple fact is today it's going to be a mix of Cabal and Coven, because you should never leave home without your Coven. Torture people, take their bodies, turn them into something else. It's a beautiful thing.
It's the kid-friendly show, mate. It's a kid-friendly show. Also, no swearing, okay?
Fair enough.
Just so, in case you guys are painting at home, you've got kids around, it's fine to watch. Also, can you tell the guys what your list is, and then also the secondaries you're going to take against me, all right?
All right, as far as list, we're going to be running a Cabal of the Black Heart with that triple Ravager, running 3 squads of 5-man Kilobytes, no upgrades, along with 3 Venoms that they're going to be riding along with, 2 Razor Wings to control the skies, along with 2 Archons. One of those, of course, is going to have that Venom Blade and a Writ of the Living Muse, going to be staying back with our Ravagers, and then the other Archon is running a Blaster to get out there out front. As far as Coven, running a Homunculus with a Whip, along with Urian Rackheart to get that little extra strength. Got 2 5-man squads of Racks, no upgrades, an 8-man squad with an Oz Effector, and then also running a 3-man Talos squad, all equipped with Haywire and Chain Flails, and 7 Grotesques to just bring a little bit of extra damage into those buildings. As far as secondaries, as Drukhari, I always love Recon. It's one of my best friends in the world. Also going to be running behind enemy lines and Mark for Death, because there is a lot of big nasty Marines on the table, and yeah, they're going to all have to die. That pretty much covers everything from there, and we're going to be getting ready to get started here in just one moment.
You got it. Try and keep up to date with like CPs that we're spending, any sort of moves that we're doing. Just try and relay what we're doing on the battlefield, okay?
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, guys, so we're going to get set up, me and Chuck. So we're going to leave you in the hands of Jonah now. Jonah is going to be the referee for the RTT that we're playing in on Sunday. So I'm going to leave you in his capable hands to talk you through kind of what we're doing and kind of keep you up to date with the scores as well. All right? Over to you, mate. Headphones are there if you need them, but yeah, just talk directly. If you sit in that chair, you'll get better audio into that one, all right? Yeah. Okay, so my first problem, literally didn't drop it.
So it looks like Steven's moved his precious cargo back on the other side of the train feature, making it a little bit harder for Charles to capture that one for the bonus point. His first drop was a Thunderfire Cannon, holding that objective.
Move my precious up a little bit towards the building. And then...
Looks like Charles wants to fight on the middle. His precious cargo went towards his building, the L-shaped building on his side.
One plane down, Razor Wing.
And he's deployed his first drop of Razor Wing on the edge of the table.
Razor Wing down.
Steven, are you guys playing with the car?
Yep.
Are you a game seller? You're in a shop? Yes, it's a shop. Oh, okay. He's got the lunch then.
Yes, but the previous last year,
This is bigger than last year?
yes, definitely. I think that a lot of people just either didn't know about it or like.
No, we didn't know that either. I think every year it's going to get bigger.
So just a quick update on this. Charles has placed a couple units behind the crates, and his Venom has some warriors in it. Steven's in that bunker on his side by his tank. He's got a couple characters in there, it looks like.
I do know some things about some of the games, but I don't really know too much about like.
So I'm putting 3 units of suppressors in Deep Strike,
Steven's also going to put his 3 units of suppressors into Deep Strike.
and I'm done.
And he is done deploying, so we're just on Charles to finish his deployment.
Yeah. So you guys know how much I hate to interrupt your game, so this will be quick. Our Play to Win games are finally up from the car. They're in the library now. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and head into the library. We've got some games from Red Raven and Stonemaier, and one game from Tessellation called Obelisk. Go ahead and check those out. Write your name down and might win a game tonight or tomorrow. Our prize games that you're signing all those signature cards for are also on the registration table for you guys to look at. We'll be giving those out tonight and tomorrow night. Thank you. Back to games.
My son was telling me there was a Warhammer 40K master class. That must be fun.
Yes.
We are running, tomorrow is the master class. There's a mentorship from Vanguard Tactics. We have, Stephen is from England, one of the founders, and Jerome is building some models, also one of their mentors. So,
You one of the founders of Warhammer?
no, of the mentorship. So they'll be playing games, teaching us how to play better. We're streaming on Steven's channel right now on YouTube. So
So you're
it is.
recording that?
Yep.
Is this Warhammer 40K? How come the minis are so big?
It's just the way they've designed the game. They've decided bigger and better is better and better.
Very cool.
So
11. Oh, okay.
they're just about to start.
Then I would switch out that for Mark.
Okay, can you just say to the guys that Chuck's going to swap his Mark for Death for Gangbusters instead?
Okay, so quick update on Chuck's secondaries. He's switching out Marked for Death for Gangbusters.
Oh, hi Paragon. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How has keyboard been doing at your store?
Really well.
It's been doing really well.
They have a consistent crowd on Wednesday of about 8 to 12 people consistently. Some of those people travel to the major events and do well. From the store, I know of at least 4 people that went to Vegas a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
So it does fairly well. I know a couple other stores are being successful with it as well.
So, how tournaments with procedurally generated decks work? Like,
You show up with a
fundamentally,
deck, and in Keyforge, your Archon card has your entire deck list on the backside. So your opponent can go through, or a judge can go through and verify that you're actually playing with the card you're supposed to.
But like, yeah, like, wouldn't we just get
I mean,
decks?
so they're going to be running a sealed deck, a sealed event, so you just buy a deck from them and you play it. So obviously you're going to have a power level shift in there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you're just not being super, super competitive, they're fun. Just to throw around and have fun.
I love that. So it's kind of like the Netrunner atmosphere, where it's like, hey, let's just play a game. Great.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Are you guys ready? Okay. So it looks like we're finished with deployment and we're getting ready to start the game.
Okay.
So these are like the best friend of those who like the idea of but like
Charles wins the roll off.
I play with more and actually do pretty well. So yeah, and most of the yes, there are some differences. Sometimes there are like some are better.
And Steven is going to attempt to seize. Unsuccessfully.
An Australian season.
Clarifying just really quickly what constitutes as a crooked die result for automatic rerolls.
Spending 1 point for a line tag. So whatever trade, dive off is there. And then of course 1 point have the next series. Of course. And then that means I start 11, I get D3 off. On any fly, gotcha.
Just clarifying some pregame rules. A reminder for vehicles that fly and how to place them on the buildings in preparation for the tournament at SoCal.
Yes.
Did you see?
No.
Okay, I don't think so. Oh. Okay. So Steven is deciding if he's going to spend 2 of his CPs to redeploy something, or if he's just going to pass priority.
No, not that. Whether or not it's effective. No, go ahead.
Steven is spending 2 CPs for cover for his entire army. And Charles is going to attempt to use his stratagem of Vect.
That is a vex, so I go down to 9 and you get
Which was successful, but Steven has refunded his CP.
I'm going to try to do a little bit first. Good luck. Good game. Alright.
I know!
Go for it.
How much would two of these cost?
So it's looking like Charles is attempting to spread out and maybe put some early pressure on some of the objectives. Trying to force Steven's hand into at least making him clear him off of objectives instead of something else Steven would rather do. What was the question?
Do you know what comes with this?
So those are just booster boxes. So it's just how many of our decks are in one of those.
Okay.
Oh, this is just a booster box. How much does this cost?
Let me check. Hey, Lori. Lori. Will you buy something for me? I don't want to buy it. Do y'all take credit cards?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's this thing, the display.
Oh wow, jeez.
Yeah.
It is a display.
Yeah, it is the display. You're welcome.
95 price. It's not the starter set.
Why so much?
Because it's just this. It's just a whole bunch of that would be odd. We got Harvard.
Hey, guess what my friend had?
Yeah.
And floating on the
How much is every one of them? Let me check for you.
It should get covered from all of these.
I was just thinking about it's $15 now. Okay, bring him on over.
I think I wouldn't lose my Marines if I rolled those.
I can make 2 ups on 20s.
Oh, they're or D12. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't lose my Paladins if I rolled those for saves.
I just rolled a 12, 12, and 9. Character rolling.
Steven? It slipped down. I've got like the that didn't change it at all
It might take a little time
to catch up.
Yeah, if you go on OBS, down here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's going to be 347.
That's what I want to be watching anyways.
Wait, on the next on here,
Uh-huh.
you can see it. You can see the chat.
It's okay.
Okay.
You've been interacting with people.
Let me
I have not been.
Yeah, basically,
I'm happy to get a better
yeah, you can chat to them. Any
Who is
questions,
that?
fire
What is she?
over.
Okay.
Normally, what I'd say is, oh, so and so's asked, blah blah blah, or whatever. Yeah, or agree with them and ask some questions if they would do it.
Talk about salt the entire time. Like salt. Be like, why about it?
Oh yeah, this is 80.
Just show up. This is like,
Yeah, that's the thing.
contemplated the more.
I'm glad you thought that because I didn't.
Sorry guys, I'm kind of new to streaming. This is a unique experience for me. I'm learning. I will continue to do better. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So you can't Vec before the game, but soon as you try to declare your cover stride and moving back. Okay.
You're guaranteed to win.
So it looks like Charles is just getting ready for checking out everything, getting ready for his shooting phase, which we're about to get to. Yeah. And where to move the planes is the question of the afternoon. I mean, they've got to be in good position, but also you don't want to crash and burn them, which is something I'm starting to learn how to do myself.
Okay, it looks like our swiper isn't working. Are you okay if I enter in the correct?
There goes the first plane, trying to get an advantageous fire position to see what he can shoot. Maybe it's not in the right place. We'll find out. Definitely trying to take out the threat to his infantry, as the Thunderfire cannon is quite nasty. Definitely think Charles is worried about that artillery piece. Movement done. Psychic phase done. Moving into the meat of the army, the shooting phase.
My pleasure. My pleasure. That did bring me down to 9 now.
Yeah, right?
All right. So at that point, we're going to go ahead and start with the.
It kicked me out of the paper.
These three firing there, you will get.
It locked me out.
So I'll go ahead and separate out the two first. Firing at the first repulsor.
The email, yes, it does.
So it looks like the Talus going into the first repulsor.
Alright. Yes, they do. Alright, thank you.
2 will be granted no cover, 1 will get cover, so we're determining the no cover saves. He's got 1 successful wound so far.
Were they here last year?
Yes, lots of shots.
Just 1 mortal wound got through off of that first little bit.
This is a nice one to start off with because it's more quiet. Yeah, big ones are like.
And just another mortal wound.
Yeah, so it's just the mortal.
Really loud.
Alright, then go ahead and go to the
It can be first. Just have to be able to get through.
Now it's the Venom's turn to shoot.
Yeah, I was just like, this didn't look together. No way.
Same target?
And actually, guys inside will also fire.
Yeah. So it looks like both of those Venoms are going to shoot at the same target. The slightly mortally wounded repulsor over there. Everything, both Venoms at the same target again. And we have a youngster trying to figure out what we're doing over here because it looks fun and entertaining.
Yeah, I need to just put in the number again.
So 8 successful wounds up to saves on Steven's part. Looks like it was just 1 wound got through.
Because I know that your card probably wasn't defined, it was just the machine being. I mean, sorry, silly.
And it looks like food got here. Doesn't matter. Ham and cheese.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just you get to re-roll those ones. Thank you, Mr.
Rerolling a couple ones. Two wounds. 1 successful wound goes through on that. Rolling the second set of attacks.
Yeah, go for it.
Hey, well, you know, she's warlord, she does work. Thank you, Mr.
Oh, I don't really mind. You can see the email I gave you.
And Charles Warlord successfully pushes another wound through on the tank.
Perfect. You're welcome. Thanks for being patient with me.
3 more wounds. Apparently all of those went through. His tank is now sitting at 3 wounds after that set of shooting.
I'm going to go ahead and go with Shatterfield on them, and I will fire the cannons into the Thunderfire.
So it looks like the missiles are going into the tank. Everything else?
The Thunderfire cannon. Okay, I'll just put it in.
Looks like everything is going into the tank as the Thunderfire cannon apparently is a character.
Do I still write the total right there? Perfect. Thank you.
There's like mustard and
Not much happened. So the second jet into the same target. And it looks like the disintegrator cannons are enough to finish off the tank, and sounds like it explodes into a CP reroll. So no explosion, but he gets his CP back. Sorry, check that. He does not get it back.
Keyforge deck, that's going to be.
That was both planes.
Thanks. You're welcome.
And of course the missiles and the other things.
The regressors exiting the tank don't take any casualties, so they're going to come out ready to go.
Yep.
Double checking range on the threat range on the Venom. 36 inches. So change on the deployment so he's not in threat range of the Venom.
And that'll shoot at the vehicle. And are you within?
And it looks like he's targeting the other repulsor on the side.
And at that point, him firing his clean shots into the other one over there. Two saves against him. No. It's like stay with fully clean. One is that one runs first, then I'll do the other. Okay, that is the end of the How's this going?
Good. Shooting phase is ended, so looks like kill one, hold one at the or at the end of the turn for Charles. We will figure out secondaries here in a bit. It keeps sliding down.
That camera?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still fine now, but it is definitely sliding. A little bit of technical difficulties. Their camera does not like to stay put.
It'll probably slide back down anyways.
This is actually
Streaming?
people chatting.
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome. I think that's right on Steven's CP count. I'm not totally familiar with his list, but I think that's where he started CP wise. It looks like there's more of the Marines getting outside of the tanks. Currently, the Marines want to get out on the front side of the tank, so the tank can move around them. Or over them, if the case needs to be, because those do fly. Again, Steven's making sure they're touching the building to get a cover save. Or just move them quickly back again.
And the character that's in that group is your okay. So 3 inches plus 8 or 2. Yeah, Chip.
Or he's going to back up and support the Thunderfire cannon. And so we'll have Steven go through his list. I'm not exactly sure all the new Primaris Marines. I'm not a Marine player, so they're all kind of confusing to me when I look at them. But we'll have Steven go through his list at the end if he didn't go through it at the beginning, just so you guys can see what he's playing. The lieutenant's advancing out of the building, jumping all the way for a nice 12 plus some extra inches there. Making sure all his troops are in a nice inch bubble to Calgar there, 9-inch bubble. Also double checking the lieutenant's aura. And in the repulsor in the 9-inch bubble of Calgar. Definitely a good plan. Probably the same thing right here. Measuring range to shoot some of the gunboats back there. Steven's spending 1 CP for Tremor Shells. Believe that is off of the Thunderfire cannon.
Hi. You guys bought me. Okay. And I have receipts. Perfect. There you go. Thank you. Can I look at your boot?
Yeah. Paragon City Games. Mind if I do I get a still signature for my friend?
Steven, what did you target with Tremor Fire?
I just declared the start.
Okay, and then you declare or target later? Okay. So he's declared it, hasn't chosen his target yet, so most likely it will be the Grotesque, but when he declares his target for that, I'll let you know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of a gift.
Okay, so the guy that he has he has the powder, he has the 6-inch. And he's the one that's re-rolling on this, correct? And that would affect all the sets of those guys if they were not. Those guys wouldn't be in the Aurora for that. Okay, now
And Charles is going to affect the doubling of Calgar's era.
I finally get one. Yeah. So I get my one from the first turn.
And then another CP being spent to make, I believe, the aggressors double shoot.
So that keeps you at 5, right? Yep.
Right, so that's a bit of annoying, isn't it? Okay, so the back squad here, we just re-roll the 1, 2, they're going to fire us.
And those are the ones that only be re-rolling once. Okay, I will go ahead, or it's 1, 2.
So Steven's going to start with his back squad. That is not affected by the captains are re-rolling the hits. They are only, and the lieutenants are re-rolling to wound. Charles, did you lightning fast reflexes? Yep. And Charles spent 1 to lightning fast reflexes the first plane.
I'd like to have 1 plane out of 2 left.
Steven just rolled for a number of shots, so let's see if he can bring down a plane.
Fair enough. Then C6.
One successful wound from the first unit. And it definitely feels the wound right there. Starting with a unit on the back that is definitely within aura range of everything, so rerolling all misses and something on the wounds. Okay, so I believe he's changing targets to get by lightning fast reflexes. He's using the other squad by the tank. So definitely outside of the 6-inch aura, I believe. Looks like 3 successful wounds.
Yeah, there we go.
Plus a reroll of a 1.
All 4 go through.
Not a successful save. Feel no pains. And he fills it all.
Now, guys. Supposed to make half of this. Fair enough.
So it looks like the unit being chosen to shoot is rerolling to hit, but not rerolling to wound. And against the one that does not have lightning fast reflexes up on it. Missed just a few after the rerolls. 7 successful wounds on the 5-up invuln.
Nice. Single damage. Okay. So no pain. Do not make any of those. So he's down 3.
Looks like 3 wounds got through.
Then you do the price for me with the I remember there was one other weapon you put in it because it was damaging the same. That was it.
Looks like a bunch of track storm grenades into the plane. Five successful wounds. We'll see how the dice go for Charles. Another wound on it. 2 left. 2 wounds remaining. And the Technomarine is shooting both the plasma and the flamer. Starting with the flamer.
Should be 4 or 5, so 5 million away.
3 wounds from the flamer. 2 get through. Does he feel the pain?
Both fail, no pains.
Doesn't feel the pain, so up to the plasma pistol. On to his invuln, does not save.
He's not making it down to 1.
Down to 1 wound. How can Steven get rid of it?
Lightning reflex. Yeah.
Okay, so switching targets to the plane with lightning reflexes on it with the unit of aggressors. And you're double tapping with that one, right?
Yeah, not the shots.
Yeah, so it's the unit that he stratagemed to double tap with, going into the plane with lightning fast reflexes. Re-rolling fails. Six successful wounds. Onto the invulnerable save.
Yeah. Man, those nice metal dice that he's using.
I know.
I wonder if there were a website that you could buy them from. D6dice.com. Precision cut dice.
So, Brian comes over and is commenting on the beautiful blue dice that Steven is using. They are metal dice. They are wonderful, except my set currently hates me. But you can go to d6dice.com. They are wonderful. I still always manage at least once a roll to put one on its side. But they're really nice dice. Check them out. Still rolling to see how many wounds he puts on that plane. We're on guy number 4 or 5. Because, you know, very variable shots take a while to get through. And it looks like we're going to start rolling some saves here shortly. And the other downside on these dice is they do definitely like to not cooperate. But beautiful dice. I do love my 3 sets that I have. And here we go for the saves. Let's see what can get through. Six total wounds, resolving down to 3 wounds left on the target.
One more guy to shoot.
Oh, now resolving the attacks from the 5th aggressor. Thanks, guys. Like I said, this is new to me. Brian and Steven started to set up for a masterclass at a local board game convention here. Of course, I did say, you know what, I'll be available to do whatever is needed. Never streamed before. Just now started watching some of Steven's videos. So, yeah, bear with me. This is kind of fun. And it looks like failed to kill either one off of all of that amazing shooting. I think both of them down to one wound left. Charles, one wound left on both planes?
One with 2, one with 1.
Okay, so the one with lightning fast reflexes still has 2 wounds left.
Okay, so I'm going to put my frag stills, straight full ones, on the one with 1 wound left.
Okay.
And then going to put the plus 1 to hit weapon.
Okay. Right.
I know, right? We weren't even able to.
So,
Put the heavy bolter.
Fragstorm's into the one with 1 wound left. He's got a +1 weapon going into the one with lightning fast reflexes.
No, my wife felt that wrong. She took a credit card.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we just came back from there for the
So Heavy Bolter and Fragstorm's into the one with 1 wound remaining. The rest of his shots onto the one with lightning fast reflexes.
Sacramento or to be somewhere real further. I haven't yet. And then I travel for mobile TV. And I'm not doing that. I on the one with you. Little shots on the
Negative 1, 1.
I really like the two others going to go.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost 40 years old. I won't get any guns on this one. Big gun.
Okay.
Yeah. So these big guns. My ex-wife threw all my original DB stuff away.
Starting with the big guns on the one with lightning fast reflexes.
And everything from then up to the newest thing of 3.5. Is that the end of your shooting? Well, me too. No, I mean the box any other over $1,000 something. I got add them all mixed.
Charles is debating whether or not to let it die or command reroll with just the Thunderfire cannon left to shoot.
And most of the third party.
Oh wait, how much damage is that?
That's my poison.
A successful kill of the one with under lightning fast reflexes. Nope, other one. So we saw the lightning fast reflex at 2 wounds. Everything else is coming into it.
If I'm only going to be able to do one thing. I stopped playing Magic because Commander.
Got 3 wounds going into it. It's got 1 wound remaining.
There wasn't many choices.
This is the +1 to hit.
And I was even your high when the game started.
2 wounds.
Yeah.
1 gets through. And he feels it, so down it goes. With no explosions out of either of them. Thunderfire targeting the grotesques. Remember, Shell Shock is active.
He had a great defense. Played all this stuff. I got all the out. One was hitting.
So got the successful hit, so they are now shell shocked. They are going to be not quite as quick as they should be. So, want to join me?
Yeah, Jonathan, I'll join you. Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Jared Renlor Long, part of Vanguard Tactics, one of the founding trainees with Vanguard Tactics. Made a trip down from Alaska down to this event. It's been awesome so far. I was smashing together some suppressors for for the boss man to use later on today.
And the best part about that, not an instruction sheet in sight.
Yeah, no, that was
by memory.
Just by sight, you know. Thank you, Games Workshop. So where are we at, man?
So they're tallying up totals for turn 1. And he does get a Butcher's Bill, which is one of his secondaries, because he killed 2 plants.
They're not going to stack, so basically I'm taking Big Game Hunter for 2 points.
Okay.
I won't get Butcher's Bill.
So no Butcher's Bill, as Steven is going to claim 2 points for Big Game Hunter. Probably the better choice here.
Yeah, Jonathan, you got to really remember with your secondaries that that when you're killing stuff, what are you gonna pull with it? And then Steven probably is looking at the table and going, hey, you know, right now I killed 2, but there's going to be easier targets later on in the game, and he's going to be able to take out and get those points with.
Exactly. Because there are a lot of what looks to be warriors on the table, more of them loaded up in Venom, so probably the better options for the Butcher's Bill. And there's still plenty of options for the Big Game Hunter, but probably the better choice to take 2 Big Game Hunters early on.
Yeah, even Scary goes, yeah, I'm going to give up. I'm going to give up that every game, but that's all right because they're going to get done what they need to before they die.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to really know how to decipher everything. And it has to be done in order to turn into periods.
Oh, they're just... I'm trying to keep up with them, but it's kind of hard because I can barely hear them. And I'm not familiar enough with the units to know what's really shooting what. I'm not a Marine player.
So the sprite, you look at the top 2, you say, 1-1. And then you would draw a card.
Looks like the grotesques are still going to keep on coming, even though they've been shell-shocked. Looks like the Talos are definitely moving up the field.
Yeah, those grotesques, even moving half distance, advancing half, and charging half distance, he's got to move them forward because they're really only going to be interacting in either the movement phase to give movement blocking or to get in there and get some melee pressure. So, if he doesn't move them, he's just going to give him what he wanted, which is no movement. So you take what you get.
And if you don't have a gun, you're better off just trying to get up the board. Even if you do have a gun. And you're slow, get up the board.
Yeah, those Talos are going to move really fast too. Potentially, if he fires and fades them, it gives them that extra 7 inches. And with Fly, you can get a lot of distance out of it and get it really useful. Push that shield, keep those Ultramarines right where they're sitting right now.
Keep them blocked in.
As I know, there's a sheet. I'll go check on it.
You know where it is.
Jonathan, I really like the terrain that's being used here from Paragon Games. It's really seems like it's really easy to use and stays together once they put that back together, stacking it together with those magic boxes.
So this is terrain provided to us through a partner of sorts down here. In Utah, our big GT, hopefully a major this year, the first week in December, is called the Rudder. The Rudder group has put together all of our terrain. They allow us to borrow them for our tournaments. In return, we try to get to as many of our players down to their tournaments. They're just located down south of us in Draper. And Steven and I had a nice chat this morning about setting up terrain properly. Because you want everything to be fair when you're coming to a table. You don't want one side to win because they had first turn or they chose deployment.
Yeah, I do notice that it's kind of looking closer to the standardized terrain that a lot of people are talking about moving competitive 40K towards. So that it really does get what Steven likes to say, it's general versus general.
Yeah.
Right? You might have a different army, but everybody's going to have the same amount of time on a time clock. Everybody's going to have the same look on the terrain for the most part.
And it's really going to depend on how you play at that point and how well you know your army.
Of course.
And if you can capitalize if your opponent makes a mistake versus I chose deployment, you had nowhere to hide, I shot you off the board in the first 2 turns.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm kind of a fan for that at this point. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to be accepted by the community and whether or not it gets adopted. I think it will be, or at least a partial version of it.
I think it's...
CP-wise, Chuck is on 3 left and I've got 5.
So...
just moved into tactical doctrine.
Okay. At the beginning of the round, Steven moves into Tactical Doctrine with 5 CP left. And Charles has 3. Looks like movement is pretty much ending
Yeah,
for
so-
Drukhari.
So that really means that Steven's ready to start doing some really big firepower now. The Ultramarines and their tactical doctrine not only get -1 AP to their rapid fire and their assault weapons, which is basically everything on
Everything
the
he's got on
aggressors.
the
Yeah,
board,
exactly.
on the board that will
Quite a
shoot
bit
a
of
lot.
stuff. Yeah. And Ultramarines, because of their special doctrine for tactical doctrine, they can move and not count as being moved. So aggressors are going to fire twice. That's a big deal for Steven's list today.
And especially because I've heard Ultramarines also Overwatch on a 5. So if the grotesques make it across the board, they're going to be facing some heavy firepower coming at them as well.
Well, and Steven still has enough CP that he can do the Overwatch stratagem. So you can choose 3 units that can fire Overwatch for him to help protect that unit that gets charged in that first volley.
What you looking for? The orange one?
Oh, listen, here's Steven.
So it's looking like Charles needs to really focus fire and try to take some of the smaller units out if he can. Also looks like Steven's blocked line of sight to a lot of stuff with his tanks and the terrain. It's going to be up to Charles to see what he can accomplish this shooting phase.
Yeah, I almost want to call this classic Steven play because he's forcing his opponent to make a choice. And to be able to get line of fire, he's going to have to give up those lines of fire as well, and be open. And those Ravagers, while they can shrug some stuff off with their invulnerable save and their feel no pain, they're only sitting at 10 wounds. But he also knows that he can't give up those fire lanes because the Ravagers as well, they will shut some stuff down.
So it looks like one of the Venoms went into the tank. The other one's trying to shoot into the one in the looks like a crater back there is trying to shoot into the unit. Looks like bad dice for Charles. Only 1 wound goes through, and of course it's saved because the boy's in blue.
Yeah, poison does really well when it has a volume of fire, and those Venoms have a lot of shots. When they get into half range, you're talking about 10 to 12 shots. If I'm not, yeah,
12 I believe.
Yeah, 12 at max if he's running double cannons. I didn't see his list.
I believe it is double cannons.
Double cannons, yeah. So you're going to be getting 12 shots just from the Venom, let alone whatever's inside.
And now it looks like Steven is agreeing to line of sight to see what those Ravagers can see. Exactly what they can shoot at.
Alright. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's doing that now when one of the things that I got a really good education part or tip from Steven.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, gotta go make a roll on.
Yeah. So more of what I was saying there is that when you go to start your turn, right, you need to make your list of what you got to accomplish for that turn. And if you need those Ravagers to have line of sight in your movement phase, you want to be asking for this line of sight check, just so that you know, hey, do I need to move them an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch or more, just to make sure that they're on target for what they want. You need them to shoot and kill.
Right through here, I can see pretty much his backpack.
All right, so we have a ruling there. Jonathan's saying that he's going to have line of sight through that second floor to the backpack of that troop over there.
It was really, really close. It could have gone either way. So.
That is 8 of them.
Super chats.
Nice. I can already use that, so it's nice.
So on the question of this terrain, this is all made by Frontline Gaming. This is one of their, I think, urban sets. The Rudder crew also helps Frontline Gaming bring terrain to the LVO. So I would go on to Frontline Gaming's website and check out their terrain, because that's where the Rudder crew gets it all.
this one's fine, yeah? That one's fine.
Yep.
And it looks like that one Ravager is going into those aggressors back there.
Yeah, that's a really smart move because those Talos can keep up with and do some pretty big damage to those repulsors, but they've got to get rid of those aggressors. Those aggressors with not only their bolter fire for covering when they go in for that the Overwatch, but also just as a counterpunch. Those power fists now that they have an extra attack each.
Shock attack is amazing. Looks like one aggressor went down off of the first, and some more bad dice by Charles back there.
Jonathan, you know how did he kit those Talos out?
You know, I believe they have haywire cannons. I don't know what their secondary weapon is.
Okay.
I've played Charles in a couple tournaments.
Yeah.
And I know he's definitely got haywire on him.
Okay. Yeah, I liked running haywire on mine. I was running 6 in my competitive Drukhari list prior to the mishap. And man, haywire, they will do some work on vehicles, but in their melee profile, the chain flails is kind of where it's at. Those chain flails are tough to deal with.
And I believe that's what he's got equipped. I'm not sure because I'm not sure if he's changed his list since the last time we played. And it looks like they definitely went into the tank and put some wounds on it. The Venom on the back objective is now shooting into that repulsor. I know when I start playing Harlequins and my Yunari, 18 Skyweavers does an amazing amount of work into a Night Army.
Oh, yeah, man, oh man. Especially even in the current meta with the Iron Hands, dealing with Iron Hands and dealing with Leviathans and things like that. Leviathans a little less so because they don't have the vehicle keyword, but even then, you're still...
It's an amazing amount of firepower.
It definitely is.
I mean, that's one thing that the Facebook group for Harlequins has been reporting into Iron Hands is we've got 2 of their main weaknesses is we're fast and we've got haywire.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and it looks like top of turn 2 is about to wind down. And it looks like Charles does not get a kill. So definitely got a hold one and maybe some secondaries. Not sure what he chose for secondaries. But now we're going into the bottom of turn 2.
Charles, what do you have for secondaries, bud?
For secondaries, I'm running Gangbusters behind enemy lines and recon.
Okay, so he's definitely close to recon. He should have recon.
So Charles went ahead and chose the secondaries: Gangbusters, behind enemy lines, and recon.
So that Venom in the crater back there is pulling double duty, it looks like. Trying to hold that back corner, and since we had the map with deployment map with the circle and the corners deployment, looks like he's getting behind enemy lines.
And for those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with the secondaries for ITC, behind the enemy lines is going to be a unit wholly within the deployment zone of your opponent at the beginning of your turn. So you make sure that's kept in mind. It's not at the end of the turn.
It's got to survive your opponent's turn.
Exactly, and that makes it tough, especially if you're trying to use that with a Venom. Then Gangbusters is a excellent choice because you're going to be wanting to shoot those aggressors. And those aggressors qualify, and doing wounds to those boys is going to be doing double work, making you more survivable and staying on the board for the Drukhari and getting you those victory points. And of course, Recon is having a unit touching all 4 quarters.
So again, that Venom in the back corner on that crater. I think Charles is hoping that it holds on. And that's possible. The train set from Frontline Gaming, I mean, obviously we support them and they support us and the rudder, but they are their own company, and if they don't have something in stock, I'm pretty sure you could email them and ask, because we use a lot of those sets, and Steven and I talked about it this morning. That set can give me 2 to 3 different tables worth of layout terrain for a tournament, and then you're not always playing on the same thing. Terrain's a lot more fair going into all of the matchups, which is something I think Steven's trying to push, and it would be something as a TO I would love to see more of.
Yeah, when you reduce the number of questionable terrain pieces and whether or not something is 3 inches, 6 inches, or 9 inches and whatnot, it just helps everybody, right? So it makes it less opportunities to have dice offs or indecisions and forcing the TOs and the refs to come over and interact with the game. It allows the players just to keep playing the game.
Which, as a TO, 3-hour games, we're here for, if I'm running an RTT, I'm spending 12 hours at the store. I'm done by the end of it. I know my players have been there for just as long as I have. So it looks like Steven's got his suppressors coming out of Deep Strike now. So there's going to be a lot more firepower. It's looking like they're landing on top of the crates, ready to do whatever suppressors do. That looks to be quite the impressive fire line that just automatically showed up.
Oh yeah, those are going to spell some trouble for the Drukhari, I'm sure, because of their firepower is awesome. Those 2 shots per model, strength 7, -2 AP for 2 flat damage. That's exactly what Drukhari don't want to be facing.
That's what Venoms don't want to be shot with, even though they are a -1. But those ones are going to hurt when they get through.
I tell you what now, though, because he's drawn back into that corner, that is going to give Charles an opportunity to push those racks forward now and start claiming those other board quarters now that he doesn't have to screen any longer.
Yep.
So hopefully it's not too little too late, but at the same time, that's a long range. They can move quick, but man, those racks are tough too.
And he had to, until Steven brought in his reinforcements, he had to play conservatively, because you don't want those showing up behind your lines.
Oh yeah, he's definitely was protecting those Ravagers on the backside by screening out like that. That 18 and a half inches is super easy and quick to measure, and man, screening is important.
Yep. So now it'll be interesting top of turn 3 to see what the response from the Drukhari will be. Looks like Steven's using his tanks to provide cover. A little bit of cover, a little bit of movement blocking.
Here comes the dice app.
Oh boy, so we're into the heavy shooting phase now.
Which is almost needed with these aggressors. With the number of shots that they have, it is brutal on trying to roll dice with that.
So we have a local orc player here, and he bought a mini iPad just for the dice app. He bought the GW official dice app from the App Store,
which unfortunately they removed from the App Store.
Is it no longer only? Because for the longest time they removed it from Android. Is it now off of Apple too?
I believe so, because I think they're doing it. Yeah, I know. So if you've got it, keep it.
If you've got it, don't delete it.
Yeah, don't delete it.
If you don't have it, let's hope they give us something back.
Well, you know what I heard actually, Jonathan, is that they are incorporating it into their battle list builder. So similar to what they already have online for building your war bands, they want to do something for 40K as well as the war bands
and give us
roll it all into one big idea. So
that would be amazing.
One app and no more of these extra apps, and getting it updated directly from Games Workshop. Those points are going to be right on cue.
Updates, you won't have to wait for Battlescribe to hopefully not. Yeah.
Yeah, it could end up being really, really nice, even if it's just the dice app back.
I mean, I'm glad I bought a well-used iPad, and that's all I have on it. I have my ITC stuff. I run my BCP pairings off of it, and if anybody shows up and is facing Nids versus Orcs, they're using my dice app. So it looks like a lot of firepower went into those grotesques. Took most of the unit away. Looks like there's 3 models left to that unit. Definitely in Steven's favor for that.
So just as a reminder, folks, we are coming to you live from the TimpCon here in Provo, Utah. It's going to be going on all weekend, so come on down. Come say hi to everybody, the Vanguard Tactic guys that are here from far and wide, but also with Paragon Games. And you can find it at the 1 East Center Street in Provo, Utah. It's the convention
we're
center.
At the Utah Valley Convention Center. If you're local, we'd love to have you. The Vanguard Tactics guys are running a masterclass tomorrow all day. We're just streaming some games in, and then Sunday up at Paragon City Games in Draper, we're hosting an RTT. We'd love to have, because the store's not really open, we'd love to be able to max out at 30 players.
Oh yeah,
set a record for me.
I'm looking forward to that. That's I come down from Alaska, so 30 players for us is a pretty hefty day for us up there. So I'd look forward to that.
Yeah. So unfortunately, on our camera, we've got it up top, and it's got a curtain on it, and it keeps slipping, and it's trying to readjust all the time. Probably after this game, we'll see what we can do to fix that. And from what little I know about Steven and his play style is sometimes we may view something as a little risky, but in his mind, he's got a backup plan, or he's willing to make the risk.
Yeah, when you can make calculated risks and you know what they are, that's when you start seeing the difference between a general that knows his army, knows what he needs to do, and maybe he's making that choice to go for a different type of play, going for those points versus just a kill.
Yep. Looks like there's a little bit more shooting into the grotesque.
All right, so
Charles put up lightning fast reflexes on the Venom. That's pulling double duty for him. Really hoping that it survives. Also looks like Steven's putting a lot of firepower into it, hoping that it doesn't.
Yeah, Jonathan, that just brought Charles down to 1 CP. He tried to get some back with Lambertine Cunning and failed that one. So he's down to 1. So he's getting really low on resources over there to help keep those Venoms alive and his Ravagers alive.
Yep. Although with Steven in the corner, maybe that's an acceptable risk.
True, yeah. When he's extended out like that, the Ultramarines, while they can move and fire, they can't advance and get their extra movement bonus or non-movement bonus. So he doesn't want to have to advance if he doesn't have to. So we'll see how this goes for him.
Venom's finally taking a wound. It's coming back for more. To me, it's looking like the aggressors are lining up on that 4 Venom.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Master Pass.
I've talked about that. We talked about where we're at.
D6 days.
I've done a little bit of the rotor talk too. Because we had a question about the train.
Come and say hi at SoCal to Steven and I.
So, Steven is going to stay in the States with us for a little bit longer. SoCal is next week. We've got a fairly strong Utah contingent heading down. So if anybody wants to stop by or if they see him and want to say hi, I'm sure they would love to say hi. We'll see how Team Utah does.
Now that's going to be the following weekend, right, Jonathan?
I believe so. I believe it's next weekend.
Awesome.
One of the Frontline Gaming's bigger events.
Yeah. Did that reach 500?
You know, I'm not sure.
I know Reese was like trying to sweat that a little bit, possibly that the event's getting pretty big, but I know that they had grown at least 20% from what they did last year.
I mean, LVO was huge for the championships. It was bigger than... So
yeah, there's 850 tickets open for the LVO this year, and they sold out in 12 hours.
Yeah.
So if you've got a ticket,
I remember from one of these events, it could have been, I think it was for SoCal or Bay Area Open. I took my son to the zoo. I'm like, oh, I have enough time. Sat down with him, tried to log in issue sold out. I'm like, well, guess I'm not going.
Oh man.
All the while, my son was having fun on the playground, and I'm just like, okay. So, good news to them. They're selling out their events. They're popular. I know the Utah crowd definitely likes getting ready for their events.
So it looks like another squad of aggressors is choosing a new
Venom.
target.
Well, yeah. Definitely in an aura this time, so potentially better results for Steven. Nope, he's still trying to clear that one Venom.
He's clinging on for life there. 3 wounds left on that Venom, so it's at half health now. Luckily on Venoms, they do not degrade. They do not have a degrading profile, so it's still effectively as
super
viable
effective.
as it can be, yeah. It's still
got to
potent.
clear it or don't even try. Takes another wound from that round of shooting.
But if you notice, even with the Chapter Master rerolls and the reroll of the wounds on the Lieutenant, that's still a tough deal. He's hitting on 4s and then wounding on 5s.
Hitting on 5s because Venoms are -1. He put lightning reflexes up on it. So
right, exactly.
Even with the change to the wording on the rerolls, you can reroll something that would ultimately miss. Something my Grey Knights desperately need, by the way. I'm just so far behind the times.
I have loved that GW has made the decision to go ahead and standardize that as they roll it out.
I think it's a good change.
Yeah, hopefully in CA here in CA 2019, they go ahead and just say that all those rules are going to be changed instead of having to wait
just
for
like they did
updates.
with the update to the supplements. They're like, you folks aren't getting a supplement, but here, you get Shock Attack. So just bring all of the wording for all of the Marine chapters up. We'll see where they go with it. But they're known for making everything uniform, which is really nice for TOs because now I'm like, have you been updated? Great, then it's this. Have you not been updated? Great, it's still this.
And I think they've done a really good job with being aggressive with changes in 8th, in, well, what we're calling 8th, that they're calling 40K from now on, right? Because they're not looking at going to 9. This is going to be a living rule set. I think they've been pretty responsive to the playtesting and to the environment. I mean, look at what we just got with the Iron Hands. Iron Hands came out super hot, hotter than
Super
hot. Words are
Easy
hard.
for you to say.
Words are hard. They came out super hot, and they got an adjustment, and hopefully it's not going to cause too much of an issue with the meta for too long.
From a lot of the players that I've heard feedback from with actually playing against Iron Hands, they're pleased with the updates. So, I mean, Iron Hands are still very viable. They're just not pushing over the top. So, again, a good general can go into an Iron Hands matchup and still get a win. But he may have to work harder for it.
Yeah, I think the FAQ really just kind of toned down some of their healing and made it a little bit less stackable, and so that they're not quite as survivable as they ended up being able to be in those matchups, just with being able to heal 9 wounds to a tank or take that much less damage with all the strategies.
Which is kind of needed. So it looks like Steven was finally successful to take down that Venom. So his perseverance pays off. I'm going to deny a secondary point, make it a little bit harder. That repulsor is declaring targets. He's got some Talos that he's definitely got to take care of. He's got another Venom, probably got troops in it. And of course he's got the Ravagers in the backfield. I mean, there's a lot of firepower still on the board for both sides.
So yeah, let's talk about that 2CP, right? That 2CP just made Steven focus fire on it from approximately a third of his firepower on his side that turn. And that is tremendous for just a Venom.
Yep. But he's denying points, so now Charles has to expend more resources to try to get behind enemy lines. I think if it was not trying to score two secondaries a turn, he may have left it alone and said, you know what, you're going to shoot at me, I'm fine with it, but if you're scoring 2 secondaries, I'm going to make you do something else. Looks like maybe a couple wounds onto the Talos. Now he's targeting the Venoms, or that last Venom over there.
Yeah, now that he's used that lightning fast reflexes, he knows he can send those Icarus pods and those Icarus array Iron Storm bolters at it and get some value out of it.
It's all about using your resources to protect what you need to. Trying to keep that Venom alive was in Charles' best interest. Getting rid of it, or at least targeting it early, if you wasn't sure you could get rid of it, was also in Steven's benefit. Because then there's no more lightning fast reflexes. Venom's not under lightning fast reflexes, still don't like Marine shooting.
As it changes the order, so and you're trying to see it's a fun one.
Yeah, that is Calgar that's kind of moved out front there, but he's not fully out front. He's just there. He's inside the bubble. Those repulsors are definitely blocking for him, keeping him safe for now. But to be honest, the only things on the Drukhari side that are going to really give Calgar even a second thought, I think, are really the Talos and the Grotesque, and mostly the Grotesque, I think, more because of their ability to wound infantry with immortal wounds. Those are much more scary than the Talos.
And unfortunately for the Drukhari fans out there, there's one Grotesque less, and that Venom, not under lightning fast reflexes, just kind of evaporated. It's gone down, the troops find themselves taking cover, and a couple of them die. They died getting out of the transport?
No, they died because they got shot after.
Oh.
Okay. So we missed something.
Well, that was
Steven
the
decided
Thunderfire.
to shoot the Thunderfire cannon at him.
Yeah, that'll remove some warriors pretty quick.
I was going to be like, that's a lot more, that's some really bad dice on an explosion, but Thunderfire cannon on the other hand, I think we kind of expect that. Warriors definitely don't like Thunderfire cannons. I keep forgetting that thing's back there. Can't really see it from my angle. Steven sure knows it's back there, though.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, the red buildings there, those containers, it's tucked up in that corner, nice and tight. It's pretty much untouchable at this point. It's probably going to sit there and pelt for the entire game.
I think the only real threat to it is that Venom in the backfield is hanging on that objective. I think that's the only thing that can get... But the problem is it's still a character, I believe. So targeting restrictions, you would have to be right up on top of it.
The cannon isn't. The
cannon is not.
The cannon.
But the Tech Marine is.
Correct. Yeah, the Tech Marine's got the character keyword, but the cannon itself doesn't. But that
Venom's not going to take down a Thunderfire cannon.
No. And it's got better targets to shoot at. Basically, anything that's infantry with that wounding, it's going to ignore the toughness on all those really, really tough aggressors. Their toughness 5. That's where they need to be shooting.
Yep. So Thunderfire cannon's just going to remain in the back, killing a squad turn. So it looks like that's the end of Steven's turn. Looks like 2 of the Ravagers went down, 2 of the Venoms are down, most of the Grotesques are gone as well. So they're just tallying up points, and we'll update you as soon as we can.
Yeah, putting in some serious work from Steven on that. He's now maxed out on 2 out of his 3 secondaries.
And he's got the first one on that.
Butcher's Bill.
So he's maxed out Big Game Hunter, Butcher, or Gangbusters.
Yep.
He's got his first Butcher's Bill because he opted not to take it turn 1, which looks to be the correct choice right now.
Yeah, and again is another one of those calculated risks, right? So he's going to, now he just needs to kill 2 units a turn and stay safe.
Yep.
Because Charles is going to have a hard time now trying to get those extra VPs, and he's got to come towards Steven in order to get those.
And one of his few remaining threats is actually coming towards him. Those Talos are probably going to go play with a Repulsor. Maybe a character if they can get there.
Yeah.
Maybe some aggressors.
Haywire can be swingy, though. So one time it can
Very
flat out one of those repulsors in one turn, and the next one it's going to do nothing. So we'll see, though. I mean, they still are strength 8 on macro scalpels if he's got that. I can't see. Is he running Urian with them?
I believe so.
Yeah.
At least the last time I played Charles, Urian was with him.
Yep. So they'll be up there, and they'll be able to wound on 4s, and for 1 CP, which has got 1 CP left,
that's all
he can reroll failed wounds,
which would probably put an end to a repulsor.
Well, that was my mistake. I should have moved all 3 of those here, and I didn't in the last turn. Because then I could have fired at the squad. Because that's what I wanted to kill this turn, the squad.
So you're right now. Charles is kind of looking at what he's made mistakes with, and what he could have done that he feels would have made a better choice for him, or an easier choice this turn. And every game, guys, every game is a learning experience, whether you win or you don't win. You know, I stopped saying I lost games. I say that I didn't win the objectives, but I learned something. So every game's a learning game, guys.
So I've got a 6-year-old, and he's Daddy's little best friend, and he'll come to the game store with me. He'll roll some dice, but he's more interested in about the story. And he always asks, "Did you win?" I'm like, "I had fun. I learned something, but I lost on points." So, I mean, I'm always learning something.
Time left on the clock, gents. I've got 33 minutes left, and Chuck's got 47.
Awesome.
And a lot of rolls to make.
Yeah. I saw you break out that the dice
app
app there, Steven, for the first set of. But then you were just rolling the aggressors 1 squad at a time. Is that why you're rolling dice for them that second turn?
basically, because I needed to get rid of, because he's got Line Breaker and he scores at the start of the turn,
Right.
I needed to get rid of that Venom.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want to overcommit because I needed whatever aggressors were left to then hit the unit that came out.
Of
so my
course.
single lone aggressor.
Urian's going to advance.
So I used a big unit of 3
Okay,
to
so
kill
that's
the -2.
confirmation. Urian was actually running with the grotesque, so that wasn't a.
The
Looks like Steven was able to take out the grotesques,
Yeah.
but not Urian behind him.
Get in. You can have a look at this Urian. I've got Calgar waiting for him.
Oh man.
It sounds like Calgar is waiting to make a brawl inside that little magic box.
Well, again, you know, talk about not losing, but Urian just wants pain anyway, so Marnius Calgar is going to be willing to give it to him.
So Steven's clock is somewhere around 33 minutes. Charles is somewhere around 44 minutes. The problem with this is Charles doesn't have that many more dice to roll.
Right.
Scott's problem is he's got plenty of dice to roll.
Yeah, Steven does have a lot of dice left and available, but you know, Steven's going to make those critical rolls. He's going to ask himself at the beginning of every turn that he takes, what do I need to kill? What VPs do I need? What are my absolute minimums that I need to shoot? And put as many things in possible shooting needs so that he can focus fire and get those 2 kills, because he's looking for 2 kills a turn right now, so that he can get those Butcher Bill every single turn from now on. Outside of that, he's gonna let Charles move around and pick up some of those points, but I don't think he's going to be able to hide
Charles
completely.
is looking to do right now.
Yeah,
And
just like I was saying, look at this. He's pushing those racks right up onto that point. Those racks can almost score 2 different table
Any
quarters
comments
right
in the
there.
chat? Some.
Let's see.
If you scroll down, you can see what's going on.
No.
Yeah, guys, if you have any questions for us, or Steven, or with Charles, just go ahead and put them in the chat.
And we'll definitely get them asked for you guys.
Yeah, just make sure to do tag Vanguard Tactics in the chat so that we can see that a little bit easier. And speaking of Vanguard Tactics, we are live on their YouTube channel. Go ahead and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more combat tactic videos, battle reports, some of the most interesting top-down style battle reports on the internet right now.
And one more thing, so as a TO, Steven played one of his least favorite matches ever and made a video about it. And as a TO, some of that stuff is really important. Is if you're not having fun, we're here to have fun. We also want to win, and we want to be competitive. And if it comes down to it, the TOs, we try to do our best to be everywhere, but with a large convention like the LGT, no way.
Yeah,
they can be everywhere.
sportsmanship, Jonathan, is such a big part of our game. You know, and unlike where online gaming, where I can just, you know, talk trash and log off, and you're never going to be seeing me again. You're going to be coming to events over and over and over again with these same people over and over again, and you want to be in a positive environment. And the video that Steven released regarding that is exactly that. It's talking about making it so that there's a standardized, acceptable, and understood version of this. And we have this in many other team sports or even other individual sports where that sportsmanship is expected, but it's also taught. And it's taught starting at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So Steven's helping make a big stride in bringing that to the forefront and allowing people to talk about it at all levels.
And if you're watching this and wanting to become a better player, listen to it and take to heart what he says. Because as a TO, I've been on the flip side. I've been in his spot where somebody's made a comment and the TO was right there and said, after the event, I should have kicked him out. I'm like, yeah, you should have. But you didn't.
And that's unfortunate, yeah.
I've also had people actively cheat on me in other game systems at a tournament in front of the TO. Nothing happened. it's a hard line for TOs too, because again, we're human. We're gonna make mistakes. Like if it's 2 Marines players and I have to make a judgment call on a rule, I'm human at the end of the day, and all of us are human. And just work with us and give us the benefit of the doubt, because we're walking up to a table and we're expecting both people to be adults.
So we got some people that are interested in the game that walked up, and they're getting to take a look at the game because we are here live at the TimpCon here in Provo, Utah. We'll be here all weekend. Come by, stop by the booth, and check out the live games and ask questions. Come check out the masterclass that VT's putting on. That'll be Saturday. And if you're also in the Utah area and want to come down to an RTT,
I'm running an RTT with all of the players from the masterclass on Sunday. The doors are going to open at 9 o'clock at Paragon City Games in Draper, with dice rolling right at 10 o'clock. Please don't be late. I'm going to be there for 12 hours. Please don't make me stay late, because I have to get up and go to work in the morning just like you do.
Be kind to your TO, people. All right, so it looks like we're wrapping up shooting here for Charles in the top of this turn. He's looking like he's making some pretty tough choices, and these are some charging. So these are some charging rolls that he's looking at making right here, and he's
like
sending those
Talos
Talos
right into the tank.
Or at least that might be, maybe. Yeah, doing some measuring here, looking to see what he maybe might be multi-charging. So charging.
I wouldn't also be surprised if all of those Talos are single units too. Give them a little bit of flexibility.
Oh, that was the homunculus that he was looking at. So if that's a homunculus with a Vexator mask, that shuts down that Overwatch, and that's super important, because also that means he's within 6 inches of a lot of those units, and he can make one of those units fight last.
And in one of my previous games, Drago fighting last is not where I want to be, because Drago will straight up kill most of the Drukhari list if I can swing first, and swinging last is not a pleasant proposition.
Yeah, Charles just got the bad news that of the stratagem from the Ultramarines about being able to Overwatch, and you can tell that he wasn't quite ready for that news. Steven being a great player and letting him know that, hey, these are the options that I have, and letting him know so that he can make an informed decision.
And it's looking like Steven's opted to go with that stratagem, picked his 3 units.
So the stratagem, guys, is Steven pays 2 CP, and he gets to nominate up to 3 units that are within 6 inches of the unit that was declared a charge against, and they get to fire Overwatch.
And if we've got some suppressors back there, they're going to do quite the work.
Well, if you notice, he's also got those aggressors tucked right around that corner, so if they've got line of fire, those are a prime unit to do.
Because I believe you count as not moving when it's on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, he hasn't moved out of tactical doctrine, Jonathan. I don't expect him to move out of tactical doctrine, so they're going to be firing twice. Yeah, yeah, now you know that. There's the rest of that face. Now you've got the same face that Charles had, Jonathan.
That's dirty. That kind of makes me miss my solitaire with when it advances, you can't Overwatch him.
Yeah, talk about a nasty unit. Solitaires are a one-man army, literally.
I've had one kill a couple Flyrants on the charge.
Wow.
Separate turns, killed a Demon Prince. It's also died horribly to Ultramarines, oddly enough, on the Overwatch. It's just like full health, 3+ invuln, let's go.
Jonathan, when I first started back into 40K at the beginning, or close to the beginning of 8th edition, it was just after they had stopped that first turn deep striking stuff. But the assassins were viable again, I had ran an Eversor Assassin against a list that had a Loyal 32. My Eversor Assassin killed the entire Loyal 32 in 2 turns.
Oh, that's
He
rough.
just shredded through those boys.
Well, that's what they're built to do, though. I mean, I've got a competition list with a Castellan and my Grey Knights with the Rusty 17 with sniper support, and I can drop a unit of interceptors, put in a Vindicare if I'm facing heavy characters, and take Headhunter and be like, okay, I've got 7 of the best snipers in the game.
Woo, yeah.
Now
Definitely.
the new Marines have brought their heavy snipers. I'm not so sure I've got the 7 best snipers in the game.
Well, yeah,
they will
Eliminators.
put the firepower down.
Yeah, Eliminators with those ability to shoot from an unseen position is really spook 'em.
Yep. All of a sudden, my characters aren't safe.
That's what I'm curious about.
So they're talking a little bit about the stratagem because it is so close to the Tau ability. Charles is asking for some clarification as to whether or not then those units get to also do Overwatch for themselves if they get charged, which is often a thing for a charging army to bait out on Tau. So they charge one unit, get for greater goods out of the Riptides or whatnot, and then charge in another unit into that defenseless unit. But unfortunately, from what I understand with the Ultramarines stratagem,
doesn't work that way.
It's not going to work that way. It's not going to give you a bonus.
It's not a once per
So, unfortunately, it's a no-go. So Charles is making some pretty tough decisions here, and you're seeing the dice app rolling there.
Again.
That one of those aggressor units got tagged, I guarantee you.
Yep, it's probably that one with the corner wrap. You can see right in front of it.
So 10 saves to Charles off of that Overwatch. That is just a tremendous amount of Overwatch.
Hitting on fire.
Saves, and then into Feel No Pains.
And down goes the Talons.
Man, that's tough.
Well, that's going to hurt. Especially if they're their own unit.
Well, it looks like it overflowed a little bit onto the other one that was left as well. So those were a unit instead of individuals.
It might get there now. Might.
Oh, nice. So Charles did capitalize on that, even though it hurt him a little bit. He did get a CP back out of that, so I believe that puts him at 2 CP now.
Should.
So that gives him some options.
Now we have some successful charges being made.
Yeah, those Taluses landing in on Marnius like that, with a Vexator Mask right there with it, possibly. Oh.
And the Homunculus is attacking first.
Yeah, so with the FAQ to the Vexator Mask, Steven can pay 2 CP to interrupt, and it interjects into it now, even with the unit that is marked as fight last.
You fight first. And oddly enough, that's the way I would have ruled it way back when I first ran into it. I'm like, well, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, when you're spending those resources, that 2 CP, to be able to fight kind of out of turn like that, you should be able to, even if there's an extra ability thrown in there. But I'm glad that they clarified that, because it gives some options there for a little bit too open to interpretation. So how's chat looking there, Jonathan?
Let's take a look.
All right. Then at that point, what's the save on the tank? Okay. So we'll go ahead and go with the micro scalpel against him. So that'll be 10 attacks.
Just the straight firing lines, I believe. I mean, in order to have a nice symmetrical board, as a TO, I don't want wide open firing lanes, but in order for it to be fair, sometimes we're going to have some really straightforward firing lines. Steven and I talked about that this morning. In order to make it a table equitable, so it doesn't matter, you roll up with your opponent, you're going to roll, you're going to get the game started. Somebody shouldn't have an inherent advantage because they were able to roll a dice higher than their opponent. Unfortunately, on all three of the setups that Steven and I went through this morning, you do have some amazing, what look to be just streets to shoot down.
Right, and of course, Steven being a master of deployment, as he teaches all of us on Vanguard Tactics, on the training, is that if you can make your opponent play to you, i.e. in this case, as you guys are seeing right here, he has set up a death lane for these guys to have to force into. He's forcing Charles to come into his strengths, and that's how you win a game.
And he's willing to give up recon, give up some points on hold more, but he's in a very advantageous as long as he can play his game, force Charles to play his game. He'll probably come out with the victory, even though he's admittedly saying, you're going to score some points on me. I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to let you have them. Yeah, I think the Executioner did go down turn one. I'm not sure on that one. Because I'm not sure of what exactly he started with. And
yes, that list has 2 Executioners and a Repulsor. So he does that. He's got, this is a slightly different list from the one that I was working with Steven with. So it could have been 2 Repulsors and 1 Executioner. I'll take a look over here on the table. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll find out for you guys on that one. Unfortunately, with some of these Marine things here in the States, trying to get a Thunderfire cannon is near impossible. It's sad because a lot of people want multiples of them, and as a store, most stores are like, yeah, we'd love to be able to get them in.
And yes, Jonathan, that was 2 Executioners and 1 Repulsor.
And it's looking like Calgar survived a whole bunch of combat, because I can still see his shiny blue head sticking up. And again, Steven is not really wanting to move outside of where he's at. There's not going to be much benefit for him.
Yeah, he's looking and seeing what he can line up, and making his choices on where he's going to move. And again, he's looking for those 2 kills so that he can kill more. I believe he needs 3 to kill more this turn, though. Charles did put some hurt out this last turn, with his shooting and with his melee. So Steven needs 2 to 3 kills this turn, 1 for his Butcher's Bill and 1 for kill more. So look for that. He's going to be putting things into place. See, look at this here. This is some awesome movement. That Repulsor is making it so that those racks are going to have a really hard time pushing forward at all and pushing past that Repulsor.
He's just using it to block movement. Doesn't necessarily need to have optimal targeting priority if you can just force Charles to play his game.
Well, at this point, there really isn't anything left for the Repulsors to do other than do that. They've really done an amazing job with taking out the Ravagers, which were a big, heavy target threat. So Steven is just used to strategy. Steven, what stratagem was that?
So that Calgar's got a 9-inch reroll for it rather than 6.
Ah, excellent. So with Calgar being locked into combat, Jonathan, he's spent that CP to increase his aura radius for those reroll hit rolls, and that is tremendous.
Since he was wrapped by the 2 Talos, so
Exactly.
can't go anywhere.
Exactly. That's well played on Steven's part with that. Keeping all those toolkits, all those tools right there on the surface. Able to leverage them when he needs them.
-2, Joe.
Looks like they're shooting into a Ravager, I believe. Yep, starting to fire down that last Ravager.
Nice.
Yeah, Charles tried to tuck it back around there while keeping something available to shoot at, but that just means that it's still available if Steven was willing to move to get to it.
Which is always a plus in Steven's book, because he can take that out. It will significantly reduce the firepower, and there it went. And that's
I was like going to say I was going to do it anyway. So
that's skill 1.
That was a waste of 2 command points when you rolled.
Oh no, Jonathan! Charles used those 2 command points to try to keep that thing alive with lightning fast reflexes, and
probably a reroll.
Yeah, unfortunately, Steven just pushed through with some decent dice.
Unfortunately, this is ultimately a dice game. You can do everything right, and your opponent can just roll slightly better than you, and there you go.
Yeah, big gun on there. Everything else on there.
Another lesson that Steven puts out there pretty heartily is making sure to choose your targets correctly according to the weapons, and he's making sure to do that and nominate those weapons to the appropriate targets.
I mean, the Las Cannon really loves killing 1 orc out of a squad of 30. It just feels really good for your Las Cannon.
It does a
You're
really
like,
good
I got
job.
him. He's not coming back.
Jonathan, it's the best weapon to kill an orc with.
I know, right? Because he's not coming back from that one. The other 29 might have something to say to your Las Cannon.
Grow back from that, you space fungus.
My favorite is shooting an immortal with the Las Cannon. It stamps back up, you shoot it again, it stamps back up, and then you kill it in combat.
Oh, man.
And you wipe the squad in combat.
I'm having flashbacks. I played Necrons, and I thought I knew what I had stopped playing in 4th Ed, so I was used to the we'll be back rules from that edition. And to my surprise, I killed 8 out of 9 Tomb Blades in a unit, left 1 alive.
They all came back.
And 7 of them stood back up next turn, and I was like, "You're kidding me, right?" He goes, "I'm sorry."
I was playtesting my Yennari list into Necrons. Killed 9 immortals out of 10. 8 of them stood back up. 8 my troop. 8 my Shadow Seer. Troopmaster was on 1 wound. I'm like, well, that was a good turn.
Yeah, it looks like that heavy laser did go ahead and take off that beautiful, classic Talos-looking Scorpion boy over there.
Yeah, he had three tanks at the start. It was 2 executioners and a repulsor at the beginning. It looks like he's got 1 of each left. And if you just want to ask us questions, just type it into the chat. We'll periodically come back to these, and if you have questions for the guys playing, we'll pass them along. If you have questions for us, we'd love to answer them for you.
Yeah, Jonathan, he might have actually been running 2 units of 5 aggressors, and if that was the case, he was probably running 2 repulsors and using 1 as a proxy. being able to put those aggressors into the tanks turn one for a little bit of assurance that they're not going to get just taken off right away.
I'm fairly positive that's what he did, because I asked him if he likes the new kit, and he's like, well, I can't put aggressors in them. So I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing.
Well, the Executioner can still hold some. It's got six capacity, which means 3 aggressors with a Mark 10 armor.
Yeah. So he doesn't like the Executioners because he likes his 5-man units. Again, we had to talk with minimum size units. You're probably going to get minimum size results, especially with all the buffs that Marines have. Rerolls of 1s, rerolls of everything.
Except for minimum squads of aggressors or the maximum squads of some other people, Jonathan. Those 3 aggressors shooting twice once they hit turn 2 is powerful.
I'm not going to deny it. I mean, you don't need more than 3. But to be safe, you could take squads of 5. So, as a TO, I'm going to answer this one from a TO, and then we're going to go into a non-TO state.
And this is to answer D Major's question. This is, how much do you think the ITC meta applies to casual play?
So, at Paragon City Games, for instance, we started full bore, let's support the ITC crowd, because those people I know I can get to show up to events. On our regular gaming night, which was Thursdays for us, so if you're ever in the area, we'd love to have you down Thursday evenings. We always have an ITC game or 2 going. We always have people, hey, I'm just new to the game. At that point, I'll take a step back. I'll be like, I'll run you through a game. Let's do small points so we can get through it faster. And then it's up to that person if they really want to be competitive or not. The great part about our store and most of the players that play there, they are super hardcore into ITC, but they're also willing to break out Battlescribe and say, let's play 1,000 points. They're not mutually exclusive, which is the great part as a TO, because I don't want to say I'm only running ITC events. The store allows me to come in and run casual events. Sometimes it's a completely different crowd. But I feel like most of our ITC players that are new started on the casual side, and it was up to them to decide, I want to be competitive within the confines of ITC. As a TO, that's what I'm pushing. You choose how to play the game. We'll support you either way.
You know, Jonathan, that's a great take on it. And while I agree with that wholeheartedly, that they aren't mutually exclusive, and that it's to continue to have a competitive base, we need more and more people in playing the game. However, I think part of what D Major is asking here is that when we see ITC people, we see pro players that are getting a lot of attention, they're getting forum time, their army lists are getting pushed out. I really do think that they're affecting casual play, because a competitive list played in a casual game
is not going to be fun.
Can make some bad feels, but not only that is that you might be able to see somebody play. Like if you were to take any list that Stephen Box writes, right? He oh no, oh man. Talus are getting punished for getting too close to Marnius.
So apparently Calgar took offense to being surrounded by a couple Talos. He turned around and just punches them hard.
He stepped back and shot him.
Oh, he
with
just
that
fell
Ultramarines
back.
chapter tactic, he fell back and shot him off the board.
Well, probably a little bit more effective than the punching.
Possibly.
I mean, so, I've never played against him. I don't know what his melee is like. I do know what Ultramarine shooting is like. I've been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, so Jonathan, I do think that it can impact it. It could impact it on both the what's available for people to pick up for casual gaming and ITC players. Make sure that you know whether or not you're playing a casual game and how to tone back a little bit.
And that's going to be the key part, because my meta right here is amazing. We have some of the best players for their faction in the ITC tracking. And they'll pair down, but they're able to step back and say, this is a casual game. Now, if we were to throw them, like Charles playing Steven right now, one of my first tournaments I ever went to, I played him round 2. He stood back and said to himself, I'm probably going to win this game. Let's make it enjoyable for my opponent.
Oh yeah, I guarantee you if I stepped over there and took that same list that Steven's running and played Charles, the game would be already different.
And that's the great thing about this is I wholeheartedly support one of the Grey Knight players who's showing up to major events monodexing Grey Knights. Not a very competitive list right now, but he's sticking with it.
Knowledge of your list is a big thing, and understanding it ins and outs.
But I can't take that same list to an event here and do half as well, because it's not going to play to my strengths. But it's ultimately going to depend on your meta. To get back to the question at hand, it's going to depend on what your players are like, the people that you play with. My meta, we can easily scale back and understand that, hey, this person's newer. Let's not throw our ultra competitive. Let's do what Steven did. Said, hey, just so you know, if you charge me, I've got this stratagem, or I've got a stratagem that can do this. In an ultra competitive environment, it's on you to understand that you're going to make a choice, and if you don't know everything, all the tools that your opponent has, it's part of the game. He doesn't have to say, I've got this stratagem and this is exactly what it does at the beginning of the game, because that's an unfair advantage to his opponent, saying, oh, don't do this because you're going to get your hand slapped if you do.
Yeah. So it looks like Steven's into his charge phase here, Jonathan, and he's got his aggressors that have made it in, and Calgar has made it in. He's rolling for those inceptors, or the suppressors that are way up top. And remember now that the fly keyword for charges is not going to let him pay for flat distance. He has to pay for that vertical distance too. So he's just trying to pile some stuff in, possibly using that charge move as to try to get some extra distance out of him, so that he can spend fewer movement inches come next turn.
Yep. And that's going to be key to him surviving this battle intact, is if he can move during the charge, he doesn't have to try to assault to get to where he can shoot.
Yeah, advancing, and he does not want to have to advance. That tactical doctrine that he's staying in with the Ultramarines is vital for his capability of his fire output right now.
And it looks like that final Venom was whittled down by some firepower. The troops on the backside of that little billboard thing, as I like to call it. I don't know if they're holding the objective. If I remember correctly, that's over 3 inches.
But what it is it makes him safe, for at least for now.
He can still score recon on that corner.
Right, yeah, he can get recon and behind enemy lines with that right there by pushing those far back there.
Yep. So again, deployment for this was the 9-inch circle in the middle and the 2 corners.
Search and destroy, okay.
So
Yeah,
again, Steven hasn't really come outside of his deployment zone at all. He said, I'm going to stand back here, and I'm going to make you come to me. I've got some good firing lanes. You've got some bad firing lanes. And it looks looking like they're trolling up the points for the end of turn.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
Looks
Charles
like
is
Steven
being
forgot.
sneaky over there, Steven.
All right.
So Urian, with that charge in that last turn, being able to survive as hardy as he is, did score Charles an extra point this turn. So being able to get to that critical right now, VPs towards his win.
Charles, point.
is 11 to 19.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because I got a push build, you maxed out game, maxed out link.
So current score, guys, is going to be 11 to Charles, 11 to Charles, and 20 to Steven.
Yep.
Currently. So Charles is doing some mental math here and looking at what he can do to max out his points, so that each game from now on he can look at this and go, okay, so I've got this left on the board. Jonathan, what could I do with what I've got left? This is vital to know.
And it's all gonna depend on what he's got left on the board. There's not much left, it looks like.
Yeah, this reminds me of last year's, the 2019 LVO, and one of the championship teams. Now I'm spacing about who it was exactly, but he was running a castle enlist with guard brigade behind it, if not a brigade or double battalion. Anyway, the point being was his castle was gone turn 1, and everybody goes, "Oh, this game is over. This game was over." No. At that level, to be best at the ITC and be able to be a competitive player, you have to know what all of your units can do at any given time without the support of other stuff. And that comes down to repetitions in games.
And I'll bet you he had lots of games where turn 1, he's like, I'm going second, kill my Castellan.
Or just removing it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a great way to go of, well, you know, you rolled this and I rolled every single save. Let me go back and go through this and retro that, and then I want to play forward with this. So it's imperative right now for Charles to do this, to finish out this game, not only for the live stream. Welcome to the Vanguard live stream for those that are just new and joining with us, but also just so that he can see what's going to happen. What can I do with it? What are those last points that I can make out?
And one of the things when Brian was getting ready for the Bay Area Open earlier this year is I was playing Harlequins and he was taking the night list, and I'm like, okay, you're not playing with that night. What do you have? I'm going first. My entire first turn, I've killed that knight. What do you got?
That's a great setup. I like that, Jonathan. I might have to use that one. I'll steal it from you.
Please do. I mean, and Brian was able to come back and ultimately beat my face in that game, but he faced a definite uphill battle to begin with.
All right, guys. So we're gonna take some look at
what's going on here.
At some of these questions that we've got. So let's go back to that live stream there, John.
There we
see
go.
what we've got. Okay, so Saint Shush, that's your name now. Is there any models or units you have to bring as Ultramarines to stand a chance at an ITC tournament? Well, I think you're kind of looking at it right now. To be honest, you don't have to bring anything.
Well, models are a start.
Models are
say model.
Okay, Jonathan, I'll give you that point. I'll concede that you have to bring models to be able to play the game with.
But as my snarky aside, we have an Ultramarines player that loves running 1 or 2 Leviathans.
Yeah.
Steven, on the other hand, does not love running Leviathans.
You know, I think what the greatest thing about Ultramarines are and why they will surpass other chapters is that they have a toolkit that is very diverse. They can bring mass intercessors. They could bring mass aggressors with repulsors and executioners. They can bring Thunder's Hammer, Storm Shield, vet sergeants, or veterans, and honor company. There are so many different ways to play them that really the best thing to understand with that, Saint, is to get an understanding of the way that you want to play, how that needs to play, and then knowing how to use that list to accomplish tasks in the game against your opponent.
And then once you've decided on your list, play it until you're sick of it. Play it a few more games so you know exactly what it can do. Because again, that guard player without his Castellan was still able to do very well in that game. So going back to a rules question, I'm going to unfortunately have to go to your expertise. One intercessor against 2 Poxwalkers Rapid fire, so 2 shots, both hidden wound. How many dead poxwalkers is that? Assuming they're both in the same unit. And you fail both disgustingly resilience.
Well, I mean, they only have 1 wound apiece.
So that's going to be both
I
of
mean,
them,
that's
correct?
both of them. I mean,
Okay.
they don't get to when they take those. That's they aren't taking it on a single model. It's going to be the unit, right? There's still a unit that has that amount of wounds. They still need to account for those wounds. It's not a double wound weapon that's only doing one shot that's doing 2 wounds. It's 2 shots that are doing enough to kill each model.
Okay, so again, on the score at the end of the turn, it was 11 to Charles, 20 to
Steven.
There we go. I wanted to say Scott. I don't know why.
It's close.
Close.
But he might take offense to that.
He might. And close only counts in thermonuclear weapons anymore.
Hand grenades and horseshoes. Come on, those are the
too.
standbys.
That too. I add thermonuclear weapons. So we have a reply saying both, and then somebody was saying
yeah, basically
it's
John
gonna be both on
John
the
Leonard. John Leonard, he's saying exactly the same thing as I am. Is that those 2 attacks need to be counted separately? I mean, you can speed roll them and they can go. You can effectively, quote unquote, speed roll them because it's one model could effectively tank both if it's viable. However, they have the same saves, they have the same feel no pains, so they can do that. They can roll. He can speed roll both of those dice. But if he fails both, he has to take both models.
Yep. So.
Yep, 2 squads. 2 squads in there, right? 2 5.
All right, that Thunderfire cannon is looking for some juicy targets hiding out in those boxes.
And it's not one big unit back there. There's 2
no,
5-man
it's 2
units
5-man
there.
units, yeah.
So now Steven's got to choose which one he's going to focus fire on.
And let me tell you what, racks in cover is hard to shift. They're still going to be using that 4-up invulnerable save, but it's a 4-up invulnerable save into that 6-up feel no pain. Oof.
Here we go.
Well, first one.
Oh no.
That's how many saves?
The dice have said no.
Well, that's an immediate fail, so they're 2 damage each, and they're at least -2, right? Okay. They make 6.
Was that to his Archon? Oh no, that was to his Archon, and Shadowfield failed on the first roll. That is tough luck, sir. I salute you.
I usually lose it on the second.
Yes,
I know.
It's the second.
Fair enough.
It's one of those rules where I look at it on paper and I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
And so for those of you
into a game where an Archon's got a 2+ invuln until it fails, you fail it on the first wound, there goes your Archon.
Yeah, so that's what I was just going to tell everybody that might not be familiar with that role. All Archons from the Dark Eldar Force get what's called a Shadow Field, and that Shadow Field is a 2-up invulnerable save. However, once it fails, it is no longer available, and you cannot CP re-roll it for any reason.
And it looks like he failed again, but whatever character that was has 1 wound remaining.
That would be the Warlord Archon.
Yep. So
oh, no.
A second Archon just failed on the first roll again.
So right there, Steven has his Butcher's Bill for the turn. Now he's going to be looking to secure another kill, but he might also just start peppering things. So he might start spreading out his fire so that he doesn't overkill, because he still is going to want units to be able to kill in these successive turns moving forward, because we're only at turn 4 currently, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Gents, this is turn 4, correct?
Charles, turn 4? Yeah, we're on turn 4.
So turn 4, and this will be the second one. So yeah, Steven needs to leave 2 units alive for 5 and 6, and to be able to get those max out those kill points.
He needs to leave 2 units on the board.
4 total.
he'll max out because he didn't get to turn 1.
Right. He didn't start until turn 3.
Turn 3, okay. So yeah, he's got to
3,
go all the
4,
way
5,
to
and
6.
6. Yeah, he's got to go all the way to 6, and he's got to be really careful. And that's going to come down to, again, a really good general knowing, hey, I can pepper these guys, but I can't do my all in like I do normally to kill a unit.
And he's going to want to put wounds onto him to reduce the number of bodies, but he doesn't want them to fail.
Exactly.
He doesn't want them to run away, kill so many that they take casualties.
Oh no,
just
it might look like he's trying to play for a table here because that repulsor
just took off.
That entire unit away.
So we've got a couple little ones at the edge of the table looking in now.
You gotta love it when they start learning.
Young.
Oh yeah, get them learning young.
My little one he's 6, starting to paint his own Necrons.
So. My 2-year-old the other day rolled a C's roll for me, the very first dice she ever rolled. She's an amazing child.
Mine's amazing because my dice are slightly below average. His are bounds above average. I'm just like, I really need to make a roll. Pius, come here. Make this roll.
Well,
unfortunately, not legal in tournaments.
My opponent is one that I play with that particular scenario is somebody I play a lot, and he goes, "You're not allowed to let your daughter roll anymore."
I mean, most of my opponents, if I have my son with me, they'll let him roll, but if it's too much, we're like, go play with the dice over here. You go build a tower and play with your dice. It's looking like Steven's gonna just control that building and be like, if you have shots that are not coming here.
Well, what he's actually doing is protecting those because that repulsor, remember, is a -2 to charge. So if Charles gets frisky, tries to come out after him, he's got to suffer through. He's got to suffer through that charge negation of the repulsor.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. No. Permission's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I didn't realize you were streaming.
Okay, so the metal dice that Steven is using is from d6dice.com. So d6dice.com. They're metal dice. There's plenty of different. We've got colored pips, non-colored pips, numerals, D6, D12. I happen to have a couple of sets of everything. Again, I play Castellan, so I have 3 D12s to track my wounds. I also play Wraith Knights and Elvar Flyers with Wraith Seers. D12s are amazing. I love the dice. Definitely check them out. What model is better, Intercessors or Infiltrators? I'm going to say they both died somewhat as easily to me, so...
Well, that's kind of like asking if my right hand or my left hand is good. I guess it depends on what it's trying to do.
Exactly. Each of those is going to have a highly specified role, and what that role is in your list, and what your list needs.
Exactly, and with the chapters coming out and the new supplements, those are individual per army and per playstyle, even for different armies.
I know I like playing my Grey Knights, but I lack long-range firepower. Add in a Castellan, and all of a sudden, it's a different game. I've got decent long-range firepower, hopefully for more than 2 turns in the game. Everybody in my meta is like, "Oh, we love killing Castellans. Let me prove it to you." And I'm like, "Please don't."
For those of you that think aggressors are terrible in shooting phase, what Steven's rolling right now is his melee. And that was a metric ton of dice for just such a small unit. And those are power fist attacks.
And they hurt just like a power fist. Left it at 1 wound, so there's a character on the inside. It's like, look at me, I'm alive.
Yeah, he's wrapped up on the other side of that L-shaped building there, guys.
First one, suppressor's nothing. Second suppressor's nothing. And lieutenant. Okay. Alright. Then at that point, just because it's Calvar, we will go and attack him.
placing all of his attacks into Calgar. And Calgar just laughs at that attack.
Yeah, it's one of the inherent issues with those poison attacks, Jonathan, is that they lack AP. I believe something's actually going to be available in the new Blood of the Phoenix, that some of those options can be gotten through for some declared... Oh no, here we go. For all the cookies here.
Laughed at that pitiful attack, and Stevens decided to waste, well, not waste, spend his 3 CP to attack again with him. And it definitely looks like he's angry.
Jonathan, did you see whether or not Charles got stole CP for those?
I did not. I'm not sure if he if he rolled for him or not.
He might have already gotten one this turn. Oh no! And the duel has been taken and victorious for Marnius Calgar. Yeah, it's tough to kill Urian, but Marnius is the guy to do it. Being able to, oh, and there's the handshake.
Yep.
So Charles has just noticed that he's got an ability to make a hold and then pass that on for turn 6. As yeah, he's going to capture that one last point, and then Steven's going to just move in for the securing of the victory here.
So we'll get a final score for you here in just a little bit. But definitely Steven had a plan and kept through it for the entire game.
Yeah, so if you guys have any final questions, especially if you have questions for Steven, who's giving you a big happy hello wave there, or for Charles, go ahead and put them in the chat, and the guys will come over and sit down and give you some answers here.
Again, as to which one we prefer, it's really going into your list. I mean, heavy bolter Centurions with hurricane bolters can probably put out an impressive amount of shots. We've seen aggressors put out an impressive amount of shots. The final to score to the game was 29-14. Again, it's going to depend on your list and depend on what you need that list to do.
And there you go, guys. Final handshake from 2 great players doing a final handshake in a great game. And probably going to be re-racking here in a little bit.
Definitely. I know there's other people wanting to get a game in. I am going to ask Steven to run through his list for a couple of you guys, just so if you wanted to build it in BattleScribe, it'd be available.
And Steven,
people want to you to run through your list again, so they can build it in BattleScribe.
Well, I'm going to do a blog post. Shall I get a bit close to the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So let's see if this will. Oh, we're looking there now. Is that on us?
Maybe need to give it a little bit of a delay there. Oh no, they're gonna know what I look like now.
No, mate. There we go. We're in. We're in.
Yeah.
There we go. Anyway, we'll just go with that. Okay, guys. So, Jared, everyone. Jared has been on our mentorship program from day 1. Also, it's actually Jared that unfortunately had your army stolen recently, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. It was an unfortunate event, kind of devastating to my local community back in Alaska.
Yeah.
And you know, it's heartbreaking, but you kind of move on.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're going to do is look to put forward a Kickstarter for you.
What?
And well, not a Kickstarter, a GoFundMe page.
Steven, wow. Okay.
Because it's one of those things, mate, that obviously I said it the other day on our Ask VT, and VT as well will also support making sure you've got an army. Okay.
Wow.
So like I said, it's been absolutely devastating for us as well to find out that somebody in the community would actually do this.
Yeah.
So guys, if you wouldn't mind, if you head over to our website, which is www.vanguardtactics.com, if you sign up for like the ITC course or something like that, that's basically one way of getting on our mailing site. Okay, so if you do that, you basically get entered into our email list. You obviously get access to the course anyway, but through that I'm going to put a link out. I'll also put all links out to it on Facebook. And if you would like to donate 20p or 50 cents or $1, it would go a long, long way to make sure we can get Jared another army.
Mate,
So,
that is tremendous. I don't know how, other than thank you, being part of VT in the last year. Mate, I came to you in Vanguard Tactics, and I was literally losing every single game. And I built that list, the one that was taken, to 3-2.
Yep.
It was only inside a year that I was able to do that.
Yep.
So it was kind of heartbroken that I didn't get to come down and try it out against you.
Yep.
But and that is just tremendous. And
I know Paragon Games and Dice are going to help out as well. So
oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah, and I've already spoke to some of the VT coaches. Those guys are going to, like Mark and Dan and Ben and Jack, they're all going to put some money in. So guys, $1 would help, and anything you can put away would be really appreciated, guys. Anyway, so my list, I'm going to make a blog post about it. It'll be on VT, okay? This is my SoCal prep. This is probably the list I'm going to take. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll put the list out in its entirety on a blog post, and you can get access to that through there. Okay, I don't mind people seeing it. If you're going to SoCal, I don't really care. This is what I'm going to take. Like your Olympic guys, this is what's happening. So that'll be on the www.Vanguard Tactics blog page. Also, there'll be a blog post there, what I did previously with the Ultramarines, so you can see how it's evolved. And also, Jared, you've written a blog post, so that'll also be going on there as well. So you can find out all that kind of stuff as well. So if you want to find out about how Jared's been getting on as one of our guys on the mentorship program, then you can check that out. But basically, a couple of questions here in the chat. Which one would you suggest, aggressors or heavy bolter centurions? With Ultramarines, aggressors every way.
Yeah.
Because the centurions already get the bolter rule. So, so you don't get any benefit for being Ultramarines.
Right,
So,
and they're much harder to transport with the current go-to transports, which are repulsors.
Yeah. So with my list, I've maximized absolutely everything to be around the tactical doctrine, so I count as stationary. This was the first time I've used 3 units of 3 suppressors, and I'll be honest, I was very impressed with the suppressors. The amount of firepower those guys can, like picking up 2 Ravagers.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
And just the threat potential, you froze a third of his army across the table, just standing there waiting to see where those guys came down. That mental threat of those suppressors deep striking is big.
There was a couple of like real clutch moments in the game where it took me a long time to decide on my target priority, but it's something I talk about all the time on the mentorship program. Is basically you need to be able to identify what are the threats to you. So I knew I couldn't kill the Talos and the Grotesques and 3 Ravagers all in one turn.
Oh no.
And I also needed to kill that Venom and 5 Cabalites to stop, unfortunately, Chuck from scoring that point. So my main priority was kill the Grotesques. They have to die. I've got Seal of Oath on them, they're giving me loads of gangbuster points, they had to go. So they were my #1 priority. And then my suppressors, if I hit the Talos, which is kind of like the one where people get scared, they go, oh, I gotta kill the Talos, right?
Right.
But I know that I can deal with the Talos either in Overwatch, and you could see, and I actually rolled pretty poorly on Overwatch, with 3 units that can support Overwatch, and I've also got big power fists that can go in wounds. So I'm maximizing the potential of the strength 7 on a toughness 5 vehicle with a -2, takes it straight to its invuln, 2 damage apiece. Whereas I've been wounding on 4s against the Talos, so I also know then if I don't kill the Ravagers kill my suppressors, and then that's a massive blow to how much fire output I've got. So I'm looking at my list thinking, right, where is the thing that is, where's the biggest threat? He's got strength 5, -3, 2 damage weapons, and that kills my suppressors really quickly. I need to get rid of them. I was also in another predicament where I had 1 aggressor left and 3 aggressors left, and he had that venom with only 2 wounds left.
Right.
And I was tempted to use the 1 man, the 1 aggressor, to kill the venom, but I'm hitting on 5s, wounding on 5s.
That's a tough spot to be in.
Because I thought, oh, then I've got the 3 man to shoot, you know, whatever else. But I thought, no, go with the big squad, get the job done, commit to it, and then in the next election of what I'm going to find next, the 1 aggressor has got more chance of picking up 4 Cabalites. But if I'd done it the other way around, the 1 man wouldn't have killed it, and then I wouldn't have been able to, the 3 man would have had to kill the venom, but then the Cabalites would have been left there.
And he would have picked up that extra point
yeah.
for coming across that line and just dropping, just for you simply killing it and not being able to pick them up afterwards.
Yep.
And see, that's that great stuff that you're going to learn when you start talking and going through the courses. You start learning this type of thing about choose your targets, kill what you have to kill, know what you need to kill, and then go with it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I did was, with the Talos, I set the trap. So the trap was to move the aggressor and my repulsor forward so that they were both within 6 inches of all my squads to Overwatch and Calgar. So I know that I can actually, the reason why Overwatch is so powerful is that essentially you are getting free shots. You're getting free activity. So I'm like, okay, I can't shoot in my shooting phase. I don't have enough shots to kill the Talos. So if I bait him, if I set my trap, which is charge this aggressor, I'm right here, please charge me.
Hold on, Steven, this is kind of sounding almost like Yannari, where you're getting to get extra actions outside of it and making sure that you use it, right?
Yeah, you know, Overwatch is a great time to use it.
Yep.
The fight phase, you have to use it. Aggressors are great because they can play in every single phase of the game. Centurions can't. Centurions can't fight, whereas aggressors can.
Well, you asked for it, Saint. That is a definitive response right there from the man himself, Stephen Box, about why you should be using aggressors if you're rolling Ultramarines.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, guys, Jonah, thank you so much for
my pleasure.
Hopefully these guys have done a great job. I can hear the commentary from over the table and it sounds like they've done a great job keeping you guys informed. If you have been watching, then thank you so much. Do give us a like, comment if you've got any questions, and yeah, go and subscribe to that free ITC course where I take you through in 5 videos completely for free about how to master the ITC so you can feel comfortable and confident at the table. And if you ever want to progress on the mentorship program, then you can sign up at any point and you can start to basically develop your learning like Jared has in, you know, if you want to, whether you're just starting to do tournaments and you want to go 3 and 2, or maybe you're already going 3 and 2 and you want to start to go 4 and 1, 5 and 0. We've got guys at all those different levels, and the supportive community is incredible. And if you ever get any questions, please email me, okay? And I'll answer any questions you guys have got.
Yeah, Steven's great about communicating and getting back to you as soon as possible. And if you're here watching us live on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe and the bell notification so that you get any notifications of further live events that we're having here. And I believe you said you were going to try to maybe do some vlogging or something like that with your SoCal trip.
So I'm going to be trying to video as much as I can with SoCal. We might even have another stream game later, maybe. We'll see.
Excellent. Yeah.
We're here at TimpCon for the next 2 days. So we've got a masterclass I'm teaching all day tomorrow. You're obviously coming to that. We're going to go over some real clutch things, and hopefully we'll stream some of that. I won't give away all the tactics.
Oh, please don't. I need to be able to win a game sooner or later.
So we'll show some highlights behind that, and if you want me to come to an event near you or your club, then get in touch and we can deliver that masterclass in person. And then we've got an RTT to play in on Sunday. You're going to be, for the masterclass, you're going to borrow my Ultramarines tomorrow.
Yeah.
Obviously you didn't have an army.
Yeah, try to build a 2,000 point army in a week is kind of impossible, turns out.
So we have actually, you can use my Ultramarines tomorrow for the masterclass. And also, I'm pretty sure myself and Brian have sorted something out, so we've got an army ready for you for the RTT. So,
man.
Yeah,
jeez.
Because obviously, with your army being stolen, like what was it, Monday or something?
Last Friday, a week ago today.
And somebody's asked, how did it get stolen? Straight out of your car, it was on a tray.
Yeah.
So somebody literally broke into the car just to steal the army. So yeah, it was a targeted attack, and that's kind of a little bit more gutting. Anyway, we won't talk too much about it, but like I said, there will be a GoFundMe page. Check out Instagram, the Vanguard Tactics, same with Facebook, and also obviously I'll put links on here on our highlight stream and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks again, Jared. Thanks again for everyone who's watched in the stream, and we'll see you guys soon.
So you just want to hand them out.
Are you sure you want to end your stream?